You know, maybe I'm just wasting my time thinking about it too much. Welcome to my channel, etc, etc. I'm going to be doing a get ready with me as I'm about to head out, and I also just wanted to touch on certain buzzwords that I keep hearing around the workplace at events that I've been attending and things, and just how I feel about them really. So what got me thinking about these buzzwords and just all these words that have just kind of come up these days, I was at this presentation thing yesterday run by, I guess, an organization or group that's bigger than the one that I currently work with. So they do inform a lot of how we work. This woman got up and did a presentation around family. She would consider us as the family, and she just kept mentioning family, 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 you know, we're just one big family, like look at us. I don't know, man, it just rubbed me the wrong way. We're not a family. Like, I'm at work. Yeah, words like families and diversity and inclusion specifically, the way that they're spoken about within the context, and it's all like similar contexts as well within businesses and organizations. They're all interlinked, you know, we're inclusive and we accept all people regardless of your background. You're welcome to work here and you're a part of this big family that we have within our department. And so I feel like it's just people have taken certain terms and just run with them without a thought as to how it actually affects the diverse people that they're wanting to include in their family. It just hasn't been well thought out, you know, the intention, it's most likely there, but the way it's executed and practiced, like how are these people, organizations, how are they acting out diversity and inclusion and family, you know, whatever they want to call it. It's not that there's no place for family in a workplace. Oh, there's many companies and businesses that were started through nepotism and, you know, favors for family members and things, and there's a lot of family owned businesses, of course, but I just find that regardless of whether it's corporate or not for profit or whatever, that family means different things for different people. So just kind of use it as a blanket value or blanket way of describing your workplace or your certain department, or your team. That word doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. And then at the same time, I think in general, like family, your own personal family, like there's a lot of things that you can kind of get away with within that space. There are a lot of behaviors and the way that things, like in terms of consequences and conflicts, how they are handled and dealt with and how they play out within a family environment, like a personal family environment. I wouldn't say that it's the same as within a workplace family. So where is that space to kind of look at what that sort of means for different people, before you start throwing that word around and I guess expecting people just to take it because they need a job, basically, so they agree to this idea of a family work environment. I just think that different words can be used when describing what feels like a family in a workplace, like tight-knit community of people, or tight-knit working team, or a team or an organization that values socializing outside of the workplace and getting together and team building and connecting with each other, rather than we're one big happy family. Because because is that, I don't know, I can't say that's true for everyone, you know, and with even within everyone's different ideas of what family is. And then I feel that in a similar way that buzzwords like diversity and inclusion, you know, are also used to tick boxes in some ways. Like it feels like those words are just chucked in as a bit of glitter and a bit of, you know, highlights. How is this workplace diverse and inclusive? I want to see it in your policies and your practices, just saying that we value everyone and all our employees are important. How does that play out with different, like, I guess, power dynamics in the workplace? Because we're not all on the same level when certain conflicts and things play out, or something that happens that affects maybe your specific team or the wider organization. You know, what happens to the diversity in the team? How was that shaped? How was that affected? Another thing with diversity and inclusion I found is going to different events, or seeing events advertised on social media. These events these days, like, it's just become like this thing and this trend of inclusivity and diversity, and how can we increase that, and what does that look like? And again, it's that thing of being really well-meaning and wanting to make sure that everyone has a seat at this table, but then is this the right table for everyone to be sitting at? Who's moderating these conversations? Who's leading them? Who are the speakers that they've hired to talk at these events, and all of that? Like, I've noticed a lot of the time that events specifically that look at like the wider, like, you know, what is the future for our country, or what is the future for this space, and then when you look at the speakers that they have lined up to talk at, you know, on a certain panel or for the whole day or whatever it is, that there are people missing in this future, this imagined future that they have. So all of a sudden there's just not going to be any black people, all of a sudden there's not going to be any disabled people, all of a sudden there's not going to be XYZ. They're not included in this conversation. That's what it kind of feels like. Like, I just almost want to be a fly on the wall in these conversations, when people are planning these events, to just to figure out what that thought process is to wanting to run certain events where you're focusing on diversity and inclusion but not actually being diverse and inclusive. You know, maybe I'm just wasting my time thinking about it too much, and I should just be, you know, creating my own space. But then are there too many spaces being created? Am I gonna run into that same issue of, am I also making sure to include everyone that needs to be at the table that I'm building with my bare freaking hands? Just, yeah. Another thing with diversity and inclusion is it usually just focuses, or from what I've seen, and even sometimes from the way that I've also talked about diversity and inclusion, and it's really hard to breathe. Another thing that I've noticed about diversity and inclusion when it comes to these events is that, and maybe I do it too as well, like, let's be honest, what happens is people forget to include diversity of income and all of that. So they organize these events, and on one hand, maybe they want to make sure that their speakers are all being paid very well for their expertise and for what they share on these different panels and things. But the accessibility of like the tickets and the pricing and stuff can just be so awful. I can think of quite a few events. International Women's Day, we've got a diverse lineup of women sharing their experiences and this, and we want to build community with women, and blah blah blah, and feminism and equality and blah blah blah. And then the price is like $300 for one ticket. Like, what? For this like 2-hour event, but you get, you know, cocktail like drinks and like nibbles and things, and there's an opportunity to like network and, you know, meet people within the industry and all of that. And that's cool. Like, that sounds fun and stuff, but damn, there are women that just can't afford that. There was this one great event that I was part of a few years back in Wellington. It was to celebrate International Women's Day. It was called KPSW, KSPW, excuse me. So Kate Shepherd plays woman. Natalia, who organized the event, she had an awesome team of women. With the ticketing specifically, they tried to make sure that they had a bunch of tickets that they allocated to certain organizations and certain groups within the Wellington area and Wellington community, so that those different types of women could all be a part of it, you know, regardless of whether they could afford the ticket price. I think it was like, oh my gosh, like maybe like $50-$60 or something like that for the evening. And again, there was dinner and all of that, and refreshments, and a great lineup of speakers, if I may say so myself. But yeah, that was awesome just to know that women from all walks of life were able to be in that room if they wanted to be in. I guess, again, be part of the conversation, because I can't think of at the top of my head, apart from the examples I've given, where I guess, you know, diversity, inclusion, and family and all of that has gone wrong. But if you do have any, like, definitely leave a comment below. I'd love to hear another person's experiences or perspectives. This camera, I don't know that it's good quality or bad quality, but I look less ashy on here than I do in the mirror with this golden hour sunlight. It's now disappearing. Oh my goodness. Going back to that idea of family and within a workplace organization or business, it can be quite dangerous, again, to use that term, just because, like I was saying, that when it comes to dealing with conflicts and you know, someone having a bad day in the workplace and all of that, in a family environment, in a personal family environment and setting, that, you know, certain behaviors will be excused, or there's that idea of unconditional love, that no matter what you do or say, that your family will always have your back, will be there to support you, will come and help you in your time of need. I can't say that's true, like, for the workplace. I don't know that it's true, that at least from my experience, that there is this unconditional love, because I don't think that there is, especially within corporate workplaces, that the employee can be, or somewhat be seen to be, disposable, especially if the company goes into hardship and they have to reduce the number of staff and all of that. It's almost like without a moment's thought that you're just gone and you're no longer part of that amazing, inclusive and diverse family that you thought you were. About a month ago, I think, I went to an event centered around Lean In, which I think is a novel written by an American woman who, I guess, has basically started like a movement centered around women and discussing certain topics that link to diversity, inclusion, and all of that, and these buzzwords that people are using now. And they played this great video where a woman talked about unconscious bias. And so on the Lean In website, they have like a section of like videos in that same manner, where they just break down certain topics: gender bias, mental bias, and intersectionality, all of those things that people are using and splashing out here and there and making their workplaces and events more colorful. So yeah, I'd really recommend it to learn more about what these topics actually look like. How do you practice diversity? How do you practice inclusivity? Yeah, there's a lot of resources that are free these days where people can learn about these different things. So I don't see why they're still being used in the way that they are, in that sort of buzzword, I guess, generic way that makes it feel like they're losing meaning, because they're just used so bloody much. So if you have any thoughts on the topics that I discussed, have anything to say, I would love to hear it. I'm always open to learn something new and, I guess, educate myself, and let me know what your thoughts are, and if you have any suggestions on other topics I should talk about in videos, please let me know too. Thank you for watching.